Unpack this. Imagine a moment each day, maybe around 4 a.m., where the world is just utterly still.
Right.
According to the source material we're diving into today, this isn't just, a quiet hour.
No, it's something more specific.
It's described as a kind of window, almost an invisible door opening up, offering this unique connection to, well, what it calls infinite energy, divinity, and consciousness.
Exactly. And that idea is really central to the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda that are discussed in the material you shared.
Yeah, this YouTube transcript excerpt you sent over,
Yeah.
it really digs into Yogananda's insights about waking up at 4 a.m.
Which, as you mentioned, is often called Amrit Vela or Brahmamuhurta in these traditions.
So our goal here, our mission for this exploration is pretty clear. We want to pull out the key ideas from this text.
Understand why this source says Yogananda stressed this specific time.
Yeah, and explore what the text suggests the implications might be for your life. But, and this is important, we're sticking strictly only to the info in this provided text.
Got it. And the source material, it does cover the, let's say, profound spiritual side of it, yes.
But there's also this hint of a scientific energy angle, too.
That's right. And it throws in some personal stories, anecdotes from Yogananda's life to illustrate the points.
It really sounds like we're about to step into a practice that might feel a bit counterintuitive, maybe, especially for modern life.
Definitely. But the source presents it as holding some significant power.
I'm genuinely curious to see how this text unpacks it all, what core insights it offers about this magic hour.
Well, what's interesting as it's laid out here is the idea that it's not just about following some, religious rule.
Right.
It's framed as something deeper, rooted in nature's rhythms and how our own consciousness works.
The source introduces Yogananda as this figure, this consciousness that seems to operate beyond ordinary time perception, a big figure in bringing yoga to the West. And this whole journey, the text says, kicks off with Amrit Vela, that time between, 3 a.m. and 6 a.m.
Generally, yes. Described as when creation is sort of subtly waking up, but the human world, the external world, is still mostly asleep.
And Yogananda is quoted in the source saying, this is the moment the soul can directly connect with the universe.
That's the claim. It's presented as this window where thoughts quiet down, become zero, it says, and the door to your inner self just swings wide open.
Okay, so it's way more than just, setting an early alarm to get emails done or something.
Much more profound, according to this source. And it links it not just to a feeling, but to this hidden scientific energy.
How does the source explain that, the scientific bit?
Well, the text suggests it's tied to the state of the environment and the mind at that hour.
Okay.
When everything outside is quiet, asleep, the cosmic waves are supposedly more stable, there's less pollution, less noise.
And less mental noise, too, less agitation in the atmosphere.
Exactly, less mental chatter. The source presents it as ideal because your brain waves are more likely to be in delta and theta states.
Which the text claims makes it easier for the soul to connect to its source.
That's the reasoning presented, yes.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. The source positions this practice not just as observance, but as a tool. It even says a machine that can bring about a revolution in your life.
Right. It quotes Yogananda directly. If you start your day with the touch of God, that day doesn't just remain a day, it becomes a blessing.
A touch of God. So how is that connection actually felt or experienced, according to the text?
Well, it points to Yogananda's autobiography of a yogi and shares stories. Like, as a kid, meditating early on a rooftop, and reportedly feeling the universe open up, hearing divine visions. Not audible sounds, but something else.
The source also mentions his personal statement, right? That when he meditated during Brahmamuhurta, especially in the morning, it felt like God was breathing inside him.
Yes, and the text really stresses this wasn't just, an emotional high. It was a distinct state of consciousness.
A state that the source claims was uniquely reachable during Amrit Vela.
Exactly, but to really get this secret, the source says you have to overcome obstacles.
Like what? Laziness? Ignorance?
Yeah, self-imposed limits.
Yeah.
Prioritizing the wrong things. These forces, it suggests, stop people from hearing this call for power that supposedly arrives daily at 4 a.m.
That's quite an image, like the universe is calling, but we're hitting snooze.
Pretty much. It quotes Yogananda again, really simply. God comes to your door every morning, but you close the door and go to sleep.
Wow. So waking at 4 a.m. isn't just routine. It's framed as a potential new beginning.
A chance to step out of old patterns, sorrow, confusion, illusion, moving from inner darkness to light.
Yogananda called it inner rebirth. the text says.
He did.
In a rebirth, just from changing your alarm clock. So what does the source say you actually do then during this time?
It lists things like sadhana, spiritual practice, prayer, meditation, self-reflection.
Okay.
These are presented as the ways to connect with this power that the source says isn't just in books, but it's within you.
So it's not enough just to know about it intellectually.
No, the material emphasizes it has to be lived, practiced. The main actions are sit in silence, close your eyes, focus inward, into your heart, specifically at 4 a.m. every day.
And the source is up front. It admits this is going to be tough at first.
Oh yeah, sleep will fight back, the body might feel tired, but it frames that struggle as a kind of test for the soul.
A test. And if the soul passes?
Then, according to the source, it gains the ability to connect with that universal energy.
And Yogananda's own life is used as proof. A story about him traveling in America.
Right. The source notes he kept that 4 a.m. schedule daily no matter what. Fatigue conditions didn't matter.
Right.
Never missed meditation.
And he's quoted saying,
I got that power only at 4 a.m., which inspired me throughout the day.
okay, that definitely adds weight. So
Yeah.
compared to our usual busy, noisy, tech-filled lives, Brahmamuhurta is presented as this crucial chance to hear inner silence, maybe feel a connection to a divine rhythm inside,
And to grasp that life isn't just about the external stuff, earning, doing.
but about internal experience, understanding, loving.
Exactly. The core of Yogananda's teaching, based on this source, really boils down to the science of connecting your individual soul to the universal consciousness.
And the master key to unlock that science is consistently waking up at 4 a.m.
That's the fundamental step presented here.
The source is explicit too. You don't need a fancy yoga studio, no expensive gear.
Nope. What you need, it says, is strong determination. To get up at 4 a.m. every morning, use that time for silent practice, and connect with what it calls the soul.
And what about the results? The source describes this progressive change happening with regular practice.
Yes, it says worries start to lessen, the mind gets calmer, thoughts become clearer.
You become more loving, compassionate, aware.
That's the description, not as a miracle, but as a natural outcome of connecting to your source.
There's that quote from Yogananda about the progression.
Yeah.
Years ago.
Ah, yes. Every morning when you remember God, that remembrance itself becomes prayer. And when that prayer is in silence, it becomes meditation. And when meditation is continuous, it opens the door to samadhi.
Samadhi. Wow. That's presented as the deeper secret of Brahmamuhurta then.
More than just a time slot. It's described as a state where the soul, mind, heart can align.
And the source basically asks you, the listener, directly, are you ready to know that secret?
Do you have the courage to wake up at 4 a.m. every morning and connect with that energy?
It actually encourages you to set the alarm tonight. Make a firm decision. Dedicate that first morning to welcoming the soul.
Yeah, and it acknowledges the difficulty again. First day's hard, second tiring, third you might feel lazy.
But it lays out a path. By day 4, maybe a hint of silence. Day 5, clearer. By day 7.
That silence could potentially become God. That's the powerful progression described.
Wow. That is powerful. This is framed as Yogananda's cosmic secret, the start of potentially rebuilding your life.
And when the soul connects to the universe, the source claims, things shift from just thoughts to tangible reality.
Source also says meditation is a science, but it needs something else.
It's nourished by love, is the phrase used. Consistent Brahmamuhurta meditation is said to lead you to levels where divine waves touch you.
Where time and space feel like they dissolve.
That's the description. And where the soul's deeper journey really kicks off.
There's that quote from Yogananda about samadhi, seeing himself as light.
Yes. When I go into samadhi, I see I am not what I appear to be. I am only light, vibration, infinite.
So he experienced this divine light, saw his body as just a covering.
And recognized that same pure light within as the universe's energy. Cosmic consciousness, he called it.
And connecting to that consciousness is said to free the soul from fear, attachment, desire, even death cycles.
That's the claim made in the source material.
So how does the source say you actually get to states like that? What's the path?
It points to two main things: consistent Brahmamuhurta practice and Kriya Yoga.
Kriya Yoga. Described not as mysterious, but as scientific coordination of breath and meditation.
Exactly. The core idea is control the breath, control the life energy, the prana.
Each breath is a vehicle for your karma.
The more you control it, the more you can direct your life. That's the quote used.
And doing Kriya Yoga at 4 a.m. is said to amplify its effect, because the soul is more receptive then.
That's what the source suggests. The practice involves focusing on energy centers, chakras, along the spine, using controlled breath to awaken and circulate energy base of the spine up to the crown.
Yogananda said this energy connects directly to the universe.
Yes, and experiencing it means you stop being just a seeker, you become part of the universe itself.
What's the first big experience people might have, according to this?
Profound energetic peace, described as resonating inside as pranav nada.
A divine inner sound, like the ocean or a flute or om.
Yogananda wrote that this sound welcomes the soul. Getting absorbed in it can take you beyond the body, the mind, ordinary thoughts.
And after that sound, the second experience mentioned is a vision of light.
The spiritual eye. Seen, the source says, between the eyebrows in deep meditation.
The third eye, letting you see beyond physical sight, see the universe within.
That's the description. A blue light, golden aura, white star inside, representing seeing past, present, future.
And entering that light is claimed to free you from the cycle of birth and death.
That's the claim. But the source says this vision comes through daily practice, discipline, self-restraint, faith.
These aren't just internal feelings, though, right? The source mentions Yogananda's own accounts. Astral projection.
Or subtle travel, yeah. Achieved through Kriya Yoga. He reportedly felt himself float above Earth, saw cosmic motion, realized this fundamental oneness.
And that's presented as a higher state of consciousness, where the soul learns and experiences.
Leading to a changed perspective when you return, seeing the world as a divine play, feeling more stable, fearless.
So Kriya Yoga isn't just sitting meditation. It's described as an art of living.
Exactly. The source stresses Yogananda integrated it with selfless service, love, compassion, finding the divine in everyone.
He who found God in meditation must also find God in life.
That sums it up nicely.
And the ultimate experience mentioned is samadhi, merging with Brahman.
Yes, Yogananda called it nirvikalpa samadhi, a state with no thoughts, no ego, no body sense, just pure existence, pure consciousness.
Achieving that takes dedication, faith, surrender.
And it all starts, the source material says, with the discipline of Brahmamuhurta.
The source uses this analogy. The seed of Brahman is hidden in every soul.
But it only sprouts when nurtured by the water of time, silence, and sadhana's spiritual practice.
So waking at 4 a.m., regular practice, keeping faith, that's the process described for the soul to connect to Brahman.
And the source frames this whole teaching as a direct invitation to you. Do you want to walk the path Yogananda showed?
Do you want to touch that divine consciousness that leads life towards immortality?
It even includes that extraordinary story about Yogananda's passing.
Right. During a speech, his body becoming still, a flash of light, suggesting his consciousness merged with the infinite.
And the detail that doctors reportedly certified his body showed no decay for 20 days.
Yeah, appearing to stay in deep meditation, presented as the ultimate siddhi or yogic power mastering death itself, a testament to his Kriya practice.
And beyond that, the source talks about his disciples continuing to feel his presence after his physical death.
Not physically, but subtly, on the level of consciousness, especially during meditation.
Yes. Yogananda himself had said, I am not the body, I am consciousness. When you meditate, when there is love and faith within you, I will be near you.
And the source points out this wasn't just for advanced people. Even ordinary householders felt this presence during their 4 a.m. practice.
They described it as a calm, loving energy, sometimes tears, deep peace, involuntary stillness.
Attributed to the guru power flowing through Yogananda.
That's how the source puts it. He stated his work would continue, that he'd be present for those who sincerely practiced Kriya Yoga and Brahmamuhurta.
Which is why, the source suggests, thousands who never met him still consider him their guru, reporting guidance, inspiration.
Finding clearer direction. His core message, as presented here, was for everyone to recognize their own inner power, that same universal force, Brahman.
And by connecting to that power, the source implies you can potentially change things. Circumstances, illness, misfortune, even destiny.
All of this, the source consistently repeats, is presented as possible through sincere practice, sadhana, faith, continuous effort.
With the foundational step being the discipline of Brahmamuhurta.
So the way the source frames it, 4 a.m. isn't just a time on the clock.
It's a doorway, a gateway into your inner universe.
The time when the world's sleep creates peace, and the soul is most receptive, allowing that inner transformative power to come through.
Yogananda's life itself, the source says, demonstrates this. How someone from humble beginnings could become this beacon.
Showing a path based on meditation, love, self-knowledge. His books are described almost like pathways themselves, doors to that energy.
And the source really brings it home at the end, doesn't it? It shifts the question.
Yeah, it stops asking if Yogananda's teachings can be experienced and starts asking if you are ready to experience them.
It asks directly, are you ready to wake up at 4 a.m.?
Are you ready to sit in solitude, focus on the breath, and listen to the silence, which the source calls the voice of your soul?
It concludes by asking, are you ready to meet Brahman within yourself?
And if the answer is yes, the source implies, then you're ready for the path Yogananda walked. A path where the end is described as only peace, only light, only love.
That's a truly powerful perspective drawn straight from this material, all built around the significance of 4 a.m.
Yeah, this source presents Yogananda's teachings on rising then not just as, spiritual advice, but as a potential science.
A direct way for the soul to connect with universal energy and kickstart a real internal shift.
And the source certainly lists some compelling potential outcomes. Less worry, a calmer mind, clearer thinking.
Increased love, compassion, maybe even relief from stress or illness, and feeling like your life has more direction.
And the methods mentioned, while needing commitment, are presented as pretty straightforward.
Sitting in silence, meditation, prayer, self-reflection, Kriya Yoga.
Requires determination, discipline, definitely. But the source stresses, no special gear, no specific place needed. It's about inner focus, inner resolve.
This deep dive into the source shows it consistently pointing towards potentially deeper peace, a real divine connection.
A fundamental change in how you see things, even mentioning inner vision, the spiritual eye, higher states like samadhi.
And according to this text, it all starts with that focused early morning practice.
It definitely gives you a lot to think about, doesn't it? The potential hidden in those quiet hours before dawn.
So based on everything we've just explored from this source material, perhaps the question left for you is, are you ready to give your soul the silence it has been asking for?